Almajdouie Logistics Company. To meet the growing need of water resources, the world's largest desalination plant is being built at Ras Al Khair, Eastern Province, Saudi Arabia. Doosan Heavy Industries are fabricating the world's largest evaporator units at their facility in Korea. They have awarded Almajdouie the onshore transportation of the 8 evaporator units. Meeting and Ras Al Khair site. Such a demanding move required months of planning and thorough studies by an in-house engineering team of technical requirements and transport route to Ras Al Khair site. First stage, we have to visualize the concept based on existing condition, then we prepare the drawing using 3D and AutoCAD. Evaporator comparison. In comparison with a football field in size, the world's largest evaporators is weighing 4,891 tons, with dimensions of 124 meters length, 34 meters width and 12 meters in height. We use the animation to make sure trailers turning and maneuvering is smooth and is safe. On December 1st, 2011, Pipin began loading operation of the first evaporator and brine heater along with 97 general cargo packages. Based on an ETA of 28th December, all SPMT's support equipment and materials were mobilized from Almajdouie equipment facility in Dammam and assembled at Ras Al Khair jetty. Around 160 kilometers from Dammam, plus 30 kilometers of extremely rough dirt road to reach the site. Temporary jetty was built at site because it was not possible to receive the units at ports of Jubail or Dammam. Number of desalination plants are built on the Red Sea and Arabian Gulf Coast to meet the growing demand of water supply, which is managed through the Saline Water Conversion Corporation, SWCC. SPMT are a multi-axle modular trailers designed for the transportation of very large and heavy cargoes. With a maximum capacity of 36 tons, SPMTs come in 4 6-line axle modules, which can be coupled side to side, end to end, effectively allowing any combination required to meet the technical and capacity requirements of the load. The SPMTs are propelled by connected power pack units or PPUs, which power the drive, steering and hydraulic system. The transportation configuration for the evaporator was designed using 172 axles in 3 modular sets, using 2 times 30 axles at the rear, 2 times 24 axles in the middle, and 2 times 32 axles in the front, with a total of 6 PPUs all connected to an interface to allow the remote control by a single operator. This detail included a method statement approved by the client. The SPMTs were assembled as per the configuration plan by our highly skilled, qualified operators and mechanics, under the supervision of the operations management team. The transport route incorporated 2 90-degree turns in order to align to the foundation. Each of the SPMT axles moves independently and are monitored and controlled by a computerized control system. This offers total flexibility of steering options as each axle unit can rotate through 260 degrees. The same system controls SPMT's vertical lifting and lowering capability between 1.2 and 1.8 meters height, which allows easy and safe self-loading and unloading, as well as leveling the trailers to compensate for varying terrain. The transportation will be carried out by 2 arms of Almajdouie Logistics, Almajdouie Heavy Lift and Almajdouie PSC Heavy Lift, MPSC. MPSC is a joint venture with Fagioli Group of Italy. The Hanjin Pioneer, a self-propelled heavy cargo duty ship with its principal dimensions of 145 meters length and 38 meters width, arrived early morning. Almajdouie's main scope of work is to receive the evaporator units at the Ras Al Khair jetty from the delivery vessel, roll off onto shore, transport and finally position onto the site foundation. The tugboats have an important task of control and positioning of the vessel. The cooperation of good weather allowed to berth the vessel successfully at the temporary jetty. Securing of mooring lines to the jetty assists final positioning. As a large barge approaches the jetty, strict safety procedures are observed and coordinated by all teams for fastening the mooring lines to the bollards. Then a final critical movement is controlled by the captain to maneuver precisely to its final position and alignment at the jetty. The temporary jetty is located up to 1 kilometer distance from the 8 sets of evaporator foundations, which are arranged side by side. The jetty was designed at 60 meters length, 50 meters width and 10 meters in height from the seabed, and rises 4.1 meters from the main sea level vertical datum. The Almajdouie team is already on the jetty to witness the arrival, together with Saudi customs officials for inspection, legal documentation and approval. Delashing of the evaporator sea fastening involves the skills, the knowledge in accordance with industry standards, statutory requirements, safety codes and special tools and equipment to be used by qualified personnel. A set of intermediate steel supports is needed between the SPMT bed and the underside of the evaporator. Located in predetermined and pre-prepared locations, 100 sets of these steel supports are required in all. Specially designed steel plates are used as a bridging ramp between the vessel and the jetty to facilitate the roll-off, designed to allow sufficient span and retain a minimum load capacity of 10 tons per square meter. Upon agreement from all concerned on final instruction to start, the Almajdouie PSC SPMTs are positioned parallel to the evaporator so that the roll onto the barge can begin. With a highly skilled operator and experienced staff and crew, the method statement defining the operation procedure is followed. Passing on to the bridging ramp, the SPMT's running height is set for 1.4 meters to allow sufficient clearance from the top of the steel supports and the underside of the evaporator, which is constantly visually checked. Assisting is the ballast system of the vessel to keep it within allowable level with the jetty whilst the extra weight of the trailers is transferring onto the vessel. The predetermined gap between the SPMTs to the evaporator legs is also checked to be in accordance with the method statement. After confirmation of the SPMT's position, any adjustments to the steel supports positioning are done. The operator will begin the controlled jacking up of the SPMTs using a built-in hydraulic capability. After contact with the evaporator is made, the SPMT will start load transfer until approximately 50% of the weight of the evaporator is on the SPMTs. Upon the client inspection and confirmation, the SPMT's jacking up will continue until all of the load is transferred and the required leg height clearance from the vessel deck is achieved. During the roll-off, the captain and crew of the vessel carry out a predetermined ballast procedure to maintain the allowable levels of the vessel to the jetty. As the evaporator weight is slowly transferring from the vessel to the jetty, the control of ballasting is a precise and vital operation, requiring close attention and cooperation between all involved. Gradually, the huge structure moves from the sea to land at a slow, controlled speed, which is constantly monitored by experienced superintendent, operator, and operations crew in a well-drilled process. A very small gap of 10 centimeters between the evaporator and its brine heater unit, which would be separately rolled off, was closely observed as the roll-off continues. The Almajdouie team are in constant communication through radio communications to make sure all instructions and observations are relayed to carry out a smooth, safe operation. As the barge floats free from 4,891 tons evaporator, the jetty accumulated the weight with SPMT axle load of approximately 28 tons per axle. All the routes were developed with 10 tons per square meter compaction as per design requirement. Speed of 1 kilometer per hour has to be constant as part of the safety procedure. Jetty was flat or 0% slope with a gradual slope of 1% as required. Almajdouie conducts its routine checkup procedure before all the team agrees to signal for a go and continue the historical transportation job. Considering the desert sandy area, it's a must to make sure route compaction appropriate to move heavy load. A ground-bearing capacity of 10 tons per square metre is the most important technical requirement on this path, and added to it, we ensure by using plywood and steel plates in certain areas, especially on turning points. Advanced study and preparation for route analysis was jointly conducted and agreed by both parties, client and Almajdouie, which was executed and planned with a very minor adjustment which was tolerable. The utmost consideration is given to the axle or line load capacity of the hydraulic trailer bed. The maximum allowable axle line payload is 30 ton per line. The maximum total weight on one axle is 36 ton per line. This is spread over 4 tyres, giving a maximum load of 8.5 ton per tyre. During the transportation phase, the verticality of the cargo is checked periodically to ensure that it is within the tolerances both longitudinal and transverse direction. The pressure readings on the SPMTs are periodically checked. That should be in accordance with the allowable values. The foundation was pre-prepared and ready to receive the evaporator. A total of 8 foundations have been prepared, and each has been temporarily backfilled to allow transition of the transporters onto the foundation. In-depth study and coordination with the client project was carried out and incorporated into the method statement to ensure the most efficient possible transition and positioning over the foundation. This included incorporation of extensive simulation plans prepared by Almajdouie engineers to map every movement required. Once initially over the foundation, small adjustments are carried out using the SPMT's steering capability to place the evaporator in the exact position for lowering, after which the lowering is carried out gradually, keeping the evaporator level until the load is transferred onto the foundation pads. Client's presence is highly required on final positioning of the evaporator, which was already above its foundation, but as 104 legs of the evaporator are still elevated on 16 centimeters from the ground, minor adjustment has to be done while jack and down procedure will conduct to make sure that all legs will be aligned properly to its foundation. A plumb line was an old tradition, but the most effective way to guide and confirm for the final positioning of the evaporator. SPMT trailer was continually lowered to leave a required gap between the steel supports and the evaporator. Each set of SPMT module, one at a time, are pulled out with steel stools loaded to it and manoeuvred to the same backfilled area. Almajdouie handled all 8 evaporators successfully and safely. Short brief of bullet. In 2011, Almajdouie also moved the world's largest bullets on SPMTs. 3 LPG storage bullets were transported from Dammam to Jubail export refinery project, a distance of over 130 kilometers. The LPG storage bullets had a weight of 1,453 tons and dimensions of 84 meters length, 11.5 meters diameter, Nothing of this size and weight had ever been attempted before going this route and in the Middle East. Multiple turns were carried out, multiple high voltage power lines had to be switched off because the bullet height as it passed underneath. Each trip took 12 to 15 days in total. It is a landmark achievement in the history of heavy lift transportation in the Middle East.